Hello everyone and welcome back to the X-Ring. On today's episode we're going to talk about my EDT, Everyday Tool Carry. So stick around and see what my favorite is. Alright, so years and years ago when I was a law enforcement sniper, one of the things that I learned was I needed some toolkits. And that's everything from checking your rings to your bases, just making sure everything was good on your action screws. And guys, there were no fix-it sticks or anything like that back in those days. Back in those days, we were looking for C-conch T-drivers, and it was really tough to find tools that would work down to the inch-pounds range that you need for precision optics, things like that. And so one of the first kits I ever got was by a company called Borka Tools. Boris Tepper is a PhD, mechanical engineer, and he came out with a really cool system. So I carried this tab gear roll with me everywhere. And all the other snipers used them as well. This was kind of a rudimentary system back in the day, but it did work. And the way it worked was it had this beam, and you had set numbers that you could go to. So, you know, if it called for, let's say, 65 inch-pounds, well, guess what? There is a 65 inch-pounds on here. You can see that one's actually used the most because when we took our sniper rifles out of the actions, we wanted to retorque them and get them good. And those C-conchs are really, really big and heavy. You would hold it in between the fingers, and with the thumb, you would just rotate it. And when this broke over at a predetermined torque rating based on the leverage that you had here, you knew that you were right. And so I had been carrying the Borka Tools, geez, it's been probably since 2010, 2011, something like that. And it went with me everywhere. Every single mission, everything, it went with me. And it came with a selection of bits that you could choose from. So if you needed to adjust other things like rings, you could do that. But working in a machine shop, you know, I found other tools like the VHAs, but these were really big and bulky. There wasn't a really good option for it, and it wasn't quick to adjust it. So like on this VHA here, I knew I was getting really good accuracy, but what you basically had to do was take this out. You had to have this other bit with you, and you could micro dial in how many inch-pounds, but it would only go so low. The other thing is, without readers, this is a really, really small window, and so when it's dark out, it's hard to see that. And so this was not a great option for compact carry for a toolkit. But then fix-it sticks came on the scene. And guys, I have a lot of fix-it stick kits. I think they do well. In the very beginning, when I started the YouTube channel about 6-7 years ago or so, they actually used some of my footage in that, and they do make some great kits. I do carry the bits with me at all times, but my choice is the Borka toolkit. You guys know that on the Barrett, the Mark 22, Fix-It Sticks does one for that because there's one specific one in here that will go to that 140 inch-pounds rating, which is what you need to be able to set the barrel torque on the Barrett MRAD. So this one right here is actually 15.8 Newton meters or 140 inch-pounds. So having the right tool for the job is critical. Guys, you will never find me at any range or any match without my Borka toolkit. And the problem is Borka actually, his wife had passed away. Hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing the story. But he had pretty much shut the company down a few years ago, and there were no Borka kits available. And so, unfortunately, they just kind of disappeared. But the good news is that ProShot, you guys might be familiar with ProShot. I'm one of their sponsored shooters. Great group of guys there, and they've been doing stuff for the military. They have NSN kits that they do for cleaning rods, things like that. They actually purchased Borka tools recently. So these are now available again, and in my opinion, it is probably one of the best toolkits out there. Guys, if you're into getting precise, you know, and getting accuracy for readings, like even on mil-spec stuff, it'll say 25 inch-pounds. Well, there's a fix-it sticks for 25 inch-pounds. But the problem is it was very similar to this original one. You had to have that set value, and there were a lot of times where if you're dealing with European firearms, you might have some odd number that fix-it stick wouldn't do it. And that was at least until they came out with a variable one like this, where you could rotate it downwards. But it got you close. The other thing to be aware of is that fix-it sticks are only good to about 10% accuracy on this variable. On their normal fixed ones, like your smaller ones that are individual torque settings, these are usually good within about 6%. But on the Borkas, that Borka tool beam, you're looking at about a 4% plus or minus accuracy. And while that might not sound like a lot to you guys, when you're trying to torque, let's say 70 inch-pounds, when you start having a 10% rating, you know, now you're at 77, or you could possibly be at 63. And so there's a big difference there. And I like to get it exact as possible, especially, you know, working in a machine shop all the time. And there are some digital ones, but they're not really the best options for compactness and portability. But the Borka toolkit kind of suits your needs for everything that you need. So guys, they offer basic kits, everything that just has the beam here, to precision torque limiters, and the precision torque limiters are guaranteed down to like 4 inch-pounds. Like my kit is very specialized. It's actually gotten bigger and bigger throughout the year, and I carry pretty much everything that I need. I'll go over some things that I carry in here so that I always have what I need at the range. Everything from their little sectional rod that actually I had to help a gentleman out at the range on Saturday when I was doing the Seekins video, because he had gotten a round stuck in his chamber, couldn't get it out. And unless you've got a cleaning rod, having that little sectional, while it's not meant for cleaning per se, unless it's an emergency situation where you've got to get something out of there, at least you've got something with you. I'm going to show you how it works compared to some other things, and you can always go to www.shooterstools.com, and these kits are starting to become available now through ProShot. So having that backing from ProShot, they should have them in stock most of the time, and I think it's probably one of the best options out there. You'll never find me without my kit, because I keep so many other things in there that are very, very handy. So let's go ahead and get into how you use it. So let's say you're working on this Night Force here, and on this it calls for 25 inch-pounds on this specific mount. Other mounts can be anywhere from 18 to 25. It really depends on the scope manufacturer and the mount, but this one is 25 inch-pounds. So on this beam here, the beam is variable from 10 inch-pounds, and then on the other side all the way up to 70. So that we know we're going to need 25, you basically just take this bit here, this holder, and we are going to find 25 on the beam. 25 is there. So what we're going to do is we can get this started, and now we can slide it wherever we want. Once we have that index mark, I'm going to set this exactly for 25, just like that. And then we're going to need our appropriate bit. In this case, it's a T15, and your kit will actually come with different runners with different bits that you need. So in this case, it is a long span, so I'm going to grab it in between my ring finger and my pinky finger, and your thumb goes on top of the button. So if I wanted to go and check this for 25 inch-pounds, I'm going to make sure that it's seated pretty well, and I'm going to do this until it clicks. We always want to alternate whenever you're doing, see how we're getting tightening there? All right, so I know that I'm going to chase it one more time, and it should break over without any movement. And that's it, and that's 25 inch-pounds. Now on the scale, like I mentioned, it goes from 10 inch-pounds all the way up to 70. But there's a lot of times you might have something like a Night Force optic where you have something outside of that range. Most of your fix-it sticks and all that won't go into this low range of 4 inch-pounds, especially when you're doing a zero stop on a Night Force, or you're doing turret cap screws. I mean, it's a good easy way to strip out your clutch system, or also your turret screws. Guys, this is a different scope. This is the contract scope. So it's got a different layout than most Night Forces, but on this is called a PTL, or precision torque limiter. These are set. This one's laser engraved at 4 inch-pounds. You might recognize this as part of the Night Force optics kit. Borka Tools provided these for them, as well as for the scars and everything else. Guys, these things have been used heavily. But all I did was I put an insert here, because normally you would put a wrench on the back side, but the problem is 4 inch-pounds, I want to feel that with my fingers. So on this side, I would switch the bit over if I was loosening, because I don't want to loosen with the torque wrench. That's not a good idea. But I would put it in the torque limiting side, and if I needed to do a zero stop, or if I needed to tighten this, all I'm going to do is, this just gave me a way to have grip, but if you guys listen, that's 4 inch-pounds. 4 inch-pounds. So I know that it's set to the factory settings of 4 inch-pounds using this precision torque limiter. Same thing on the Night Force. On the clamp screws, on a lot of their mounts call for 100 inch-pounds. So 100 is beyond the scope of the range there. Now, if you had the fix-it sticks, well, guess what? It only goes to 65, so you'd have to buy a specialized bit for that. But same thing, you can get a precision torque limiter that goes to 100 inch-pounds. Let me show you what that looks like. So this is an example of 100 inch-pounds. I know that I'm going to be using my 1/2 inch drive on the Night Force. I'm going to use the drive on the back side. And for this, if it calls for 100, I know that I can get exactly 100 inch-pounds. When it breaks over, and I know I'm going to be within 6% or so. So these are extremely handy for those torque values that are outside of the range and not a variable. Guys, just be aware that, like, even on the fix-it sticks, and I'm not knocking fix-it sticks, I love them and I have a bunch of them, just remember that they do have a life cycle. The lower the number of that torque value, let's say you've got a 15 inch-pounds, guys, that can be as low as 1,000 cycles before it's out of calibration. Now, the higher ones do go up to 5,000 or 10,000 cycles. Probably something you're not going to have to worry about, but like I said, in all the years that I've had the Borkas, I haven't had any issues with any of that. But eventually it will wear down too. You should always be calibrating and checking any type of those torque values if you're like me and you want to be really type A, and when you're calling for 70, you want as close as 70 inch-pounds as you can get. So remember, once again, go to shooterstools.com. Like I said, it's owned by ProShot now, but you'll still get the same great stuff that you get from the previous Borka. And like I said, they make good stuff. Also, I don't get any kickbacks from this. I just ask the companies to help my viewers out. If you use XRING in the coupon code, it will actually give you 10% off the price of the kit. Now, as with any tools or for any type of professional tools, they're not going to be cheap. The price of the kits range from the mid-hundreds up to $300 depending on how much stuff you want in that kit. Now, the one that I carry a lot of different things, including the Fix-It Sticks T-handle, because I think this is the fastest way when you have like 6 rings or 6 screws in a ring to be able to get these undone. So I actually carry Fix-It Sticks tools in my kit. But there's some other really cool things, like how many times you've been out in the field and you couldn't get your rear or forward takedown pin out. This is actually really cool because you can place this on your takedown pin, you pull it, and just the inertia of the spring closing will pop that pin to get it started, especially if you have a really tight mated upper and lower receiver set. But there's some really cool tools in there. They are going to also come back out with the thin jaw. You guys can see where this is machined, but it was a thin jaw channel lock. This is probably one of the most useful tools I've ever carried in my bag, and the reason is I'm always dealing with suppressors or taking off muzzle brakes, things like that, and I need that thin jaw to be able to do that. Otherwise the barrel kind of gets in the way of it. They will be coming back out with these, and then of course, like I said, as recently as Saturday, I had to use this to help get a case out of a gentleman's barrel. So this is really handy. I think this actually has an NSN number. If you guys know what it is, you know what it is. But this is a great tool to have in your kit because it does give you a sectional rod in those cases of emergency where you need to get stuff out. So I wanted to bring you that information for my EDT, my everyday toolkit, and it's a good place to also keep other specialized things like for your Holosun or your Vortex. Any of the tools that come with them you can keep in the bag. You have everything together. It's easy to carry. They use a Maxpedition pack. Maxpedition's been around a long time, but I would definitely urge you to take a look into them. Go to shooterstools.com. Hopefully you guys like the toolkit. If you get one, and let me know in the comments below what you think of it. You guys take care and have a good one.